I had a foster child that was in my car one day. He had seen his mom's boyfriend kill his little sister. And he said to me, if I grow up, I want to be a fireman. And 4-year-olds should say, when I grow up. Our kids live without the basics that we feel people need in order to exist. And it's not because their families aren't trying. It's just that the system's built against them. We play like we're a family-friendly society, and we're not. We have a lot of single mothers now raising children because marrying someone in the same economic group in this state is economic suicide, because you lose healthcare, housing, and food stamps if you marry the guy working next to you at McDonald's.
When Sister Berta would walk into her room, she'd trip and stumble a couple of times, and everybody'd say, oh, that poor old lady. And then she'd get up to speak, and you realized in 2 minutes she had them in the palm of her hand. They were hanging on to every word she said.
If every millionaire in the state of Missouri said they would eliminate child poverty in this state, it'd be gone in 6 weeks. But we have to want to do it.
Every time we went to Jefferson City to talk to the legislators, it didn't matter which side of the aisle they were on. They would come off the floor when they found out Sister Berta was there and have their photographer take pictures with her, because they knew what credibility that gave. Once one of the photographers said, that is the most powerful woman in this state.
Sister Berta grew up as a lonely, only child in Chicago. Her mother was single. She never knew her father. She was raised by her grandmother, Bertha, who worked as a cook in a convent. Known as Judy back then, she graduated high school in 1954 with dreams of serving the poor in Africa. Money was tight, though, so becoming a nun looked like the most likely route to the life of service she envisioned. She entered the convent of the Sisters of Charity in Dubuque, Iowa, where she took the name Sister Berta to honor her grandmother.
I have never known a nun like Sister Berta. She was just so down to earth. You could just be for real with her and not feel like ashamed. Sister Berta pretty much saved my life. I was in an abusive marriage that I didn't know if I was going to see them tomorrow. I didn't. I remember Sister Berta coming to me and talking to me for an hour and a half, convincing me, let me help you. Let me help you. Sister Berta moved me and my family out of town so that we could be safe. I had no one because no one would get involved, but she did it for me and my family. She made us safe. Sister Berta is a daredevil. She will do it.
She is absolutely fearless. Sister Berta would take me to shelters and to apartments that were just dangerous and dilapidated, and she was never afraid, ever. It didn't matter who you were, whether you were a millionaire or whether you were a poor, homeless mom. Sister Berta treated everyone just the same. I feel like I saw the world, the real world, for the first time through her eyes.
If a young person is killed in a car wreck on 125th Street, the very next line in the newspaper is, there will be a counselor at the school to help the children deal with this person's death. I dare you to find that in a drive-by shooting. Is it because our kids are so used to the kid next to them being dead in the morning? Or is it we don't care enough?
When I first met Sister Berta, my mom was just getting me and my brother out of foster care, and that was a really rough time for us. In elementary school, I was a roughhead, knucklehead kid, and I would be getting in trouble, and they were about ready to kick me out. Sister Berta came up to the school and was like, this kid needs to be in school. We're gonna find out how we can make things work. That really kind of opened my eyes, and just in amazement, like, oh, well, maybe I am, cared about, and maybe, somebody do see a future for me. I ended up graduating from Hogan at the top of my class, going on to college. I think Sister Berta should be remembered for being able to understand that these kids didn't choose their family, whether their dad was there or not, and that everybody should have a chance.
None of Sister Berta's accomplishments were hers alone. For more than 60 years, she and Sister Corita Bussanmas spent every day together, working toward the same goals, in very different ways.
Where Berta was creative and sort of a whirling dervish, Corita was practical and steadfast and always had Sister Berta's back.
Together, they created Operation Breakthrough, starting with 4 babies in their living room and working 18-hour days to extend education, healthcare, and social services to thousands of Kansas City children and parents at 31st and Troost. At home, they created a family.
Sister Berta was critical of the foster care system early on, and she and Corita recognized that they couldn't be critical of it if they weren't willing to help out. And so they went to training to become foster parents and started taking children home, and they ended up adopting 4, but they fostered hundreds of children.
As a mom, Sister Berta loved us very hard. She was always there for us. She always encouraged us to be the best person we could be in life. At work, Sister Berta was the exact same. She loved everyone hard.
Somehow, she managed to raise her own children while being everyone else's emergency contact.
Sister Berta always had her phone in her bra, and it never stopped ringing. I never heard Sister Berta complain about the pace of her life. All my brothers and sisters had extracurricular activities, so there was lots of moving parts. We had barbecues, we had pool parties, birthday parties, anything you can imagine, we had it in the backyard. I remember about 14 kids living there at one time.
When I first met Sister Berta over 30 years ago, I was absolutely in awe of her and her ability to multitask. There was a child on her lap, there was a child sitting next to her, and a baby on her desk, and she was in her element. One of the classroom teachers brought a child in with a fever, and Sister Berta said, "Don't give him Tylenol, he's allergic to it." There were several hundred children, and I thought, how on earth does she remember that this child is allergic to Tylenol? And I saw that situation over and over. They'd bring a child in that was throwing a tantrum, and she'd pick that child up and put him on her lap and say, "Her shoes are too tight, her feet hurt." And she'd take the baby's shoes off, she'd rub her feet, and that child would calm down and generally fall asleep on her lap.
Whatever was going on, she was a part of it. Her energy made you just want to jump on the bandwagon.
I gave Sister Berta my cell phone number. Don't regret it. When she needed something, she called. It's impossible to say no to her because of the charisma and the passion that she brings to the conversation. She uses humor to make a point in a way that if it were made without humor, people might find aggressive.
What makes us do this them and us stuff? As long as I can say, well, the reason you're poor is because you're lazy and make bad choices, then all you have to do is stop and you'll be okay. As long as we're them and us, this isn't going to work. We have to be us. To affect change, we have to know each other.
She always felt like if people knew our moms, they would be more inclined to stop judging them and start helping them. So she started the City You Never See bus tour. We would load people onto the bus. We'd go to homeless shelters, battered women's shelters, food pantries, and our moms would get on the bus and they'd tell their story.
Now that you've met these other families, I ask you not to forget them. They will have a part to play in the lives of your children. Their children and your children are living in the same city.
Sister Berta was not a saint. She was very, very human, but she had the capacity and the passion to love people who the world seemed to have forgotten. She was not one to play by the rules all the time, especially if it meant getting something for the children. The state has rules about how many children we could have in the facility, and Sister Berta never paid too much attention. She knew that the kids were better off here than home alone or on the streets. I never heard her quote a scripture. I never heard her say the rosary, but every day she was taking care of sick, she was taking care of homeless, she was taking care of hungry people. Every day, her religion was the way she lived her life. Sister Berta made us all step out of our comfort zone and become better people.
She's been responsible for leading kids out of poverty into independence, and that's a legacy that will continue to live because they'll pass it on to their kids as well.
I always say to people, the kid that could find the cure for cancer could be in this building, and we better make sure that this child gets all the opportunities they need.
When you step inside of OB, you definitely can feel the presence of Sister Berta. I don't know if it's like the voice you hear or her mentality to get things done or just make sure everybody was gelling together, having fun, but it's a great feeling.
When I'm in my classroom and I need to have a conversation with one of my kids' parents, it's always, what would Sister Berta do? How would she talk to the kids? Sister Berta is leaving us behind with a job to be done, to not only look after kids, but their families as well. Don't give up on anyone and follow her example.
It's fun to watch the kids grow up. One day they come in as a tiny baby in their mother's arms, and then 4 days later they're coming in saying, "Do you have any candy?" So it doesn't take them long to grow up.